Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Distance Learning Toolkit, Distance Teaching Toolkit. We're going to go ahead and get rocking and rolling. I'm going to go ahead and go into presentation mode to make my screen a little bit bigger, and we'll get rocking and rolling. So my name is Kathy Hurlbert. I'm an instructional technology specialist for the district, and I have with me here my coworker, and I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Yep. Here I am. Hello, I'm Cindy Glenn. Happy to be here. And I'm letting people in, so don't want to lose my focus.
All right, so let's talk for a minute kind of about the expectations, and then we'll look at our goals, and then we'll jump in and get rolling on the content. So we're both excited to be here with you today. We're so glad you joined us before this 3-day weekend. Expectations. So I do want to emphasize, and if you've been through previous webinars with me, you've probably heard this several times, but I want to make sure that everyone knows where to find opportunities to learn coming up. This is a very new situation for many of us teaching in this capacity. And so our department has been working really hard to provide webinars based on your feedback to meet your learning needs. So in your Launchpad at the very bottom is the Teacher Distance Learning page. When I land on the Teacher Distance Learning page, I can come up here to the on the menu bar up at the top and click Webinars. And I just want to point out that we are recording this webinar and most other webinars that we're doing. You can find those recordings there if you need to go back to them, or maybe you missed a webinar. And then the calendar is being updated on a daily basis with new learning opportunities for you. So wanted to make sure you knew how to get to that content. The next thing I want to share with you is that we want to make sure you have your chat window open, because we will be dropping links and materials in there. Plus, as I'm talking, if you have questions or I went over something too fast, drop a comment in the chat box. Cindy is kind of watching that and communicating with me on the backside, so I can stop and answer questions as we go before we get too far in. You can also click on your reactions down at the bottom and raise your hand. As you're coming into the meeting, we do have you all muted, and you can turn your video off if it's not off already. So at the end, if we have time available, we can let you come in, unmute yourself, and ask questions. But again, use that chat feature. I'll be posting an attendance form at the end of the class that you'll need to fill out to get credit for today's training. So I do want to point that out. It's a very simple form. It asks you your name, your campus, was this helpful, and then what I'd like to learn more about. That's really important, because we're looking at that feedback to decide what to teach moving forward. So, you know, it's if I mention something today that you want more info on, you know, put a note there, or if there's something else you want to learn about, drop it in there. I can either follow up with you via email with more information, or to answer a question, or we, like I said, use that information to plan future webinars and learning opportunities. When you click Submit on your form, it's going to take you to a confirmation screen, and the Distance Toolkit presentation that I'm sharing with you today is linked there. So when you land on this page, if you click that link, that will take you to the presentation, so you have a copy and can come back and refer to it. I wanted you to have the opportunity to experience some of the things we're going to talk about today as a student. So there's 2 different ways that you can access the items that I'm sharing. So I will drop links into the chat box for you to experience the different things that we're doing. You can either click the links and open them in a new tab, or you can use if you have another device handy, an iPad or your phone, you can scan the QR code. And Cindy, I don't know if you want to mention something about the QR code.
So if you are using an iPhone or an iPad, if you just go into the camera, just to go take a picture, and if you just open it up to the camera, and then if you hover that over the QR, if you just hold it over the QR code, the link it should say, would you like to open up in Safari? So you don't even have to tap anything. So that works, I know, for an iPad and for an iPhone. So go ahead and try that, see if that will work for you.
Okay. All right, awesome. Anything else, or are we ready to roll on?
One other thing too, if you want to see the screen as large as possible, if you click on Kathy's presentation, just to the right of it, and then you'll see the two arrows going east and west. If you move that over all the way to the right, then you'll have the largest view of her screen.
All right.
That's
So,
it.
all right. I'm going to try to stay in presentation mode as much as possible, but we are going to be navigating to some outside sites, so I will kind of have to hop in and out. So like Cindy said, you know, if you want to enlarge your screen as much as possible to help you see the best you can. So we're going to start off with kind of our goals for today. So the goals that I was kind of thinking about as I developed this training is to really learn about some new tools that you can use through distance learning to really make practice of content more engaging for students. So you guys are doing some great things. And I've seen a lot of the things that we've been teaching about being utilized, which I'm super excited about, but there's so much available to you out there. I just want to add a few new tools to your toolkit. I live by a rule of +1, and I know I have put +2 here, but my goal for you today is to learn at least 2 new tools that you can quickly go back and use to get kids cognitively engaged. And I want to kind of emphasize that cognitive engagement. So engagement is, you know, like, hey, I'm interested, which is great, but we want kids cognitively engaging with content. So we want them thinking and you know, being invested. So like I said, my general rule is +1. You can't get good at everything right away. So, you know, pick 1 to 2 tools that you hear today and go back and practice with them. And then when you're ready for more, you can come back to the presentation and try some more. So I believe, you know, that's the best way to growth, is just start with 1 or 2. So that's kind of the goal. So the tools that we're going to talk about today, some you may be familiar with, some you may have not, some you may have used in the classroom in traditional manner, but we're going to talk about how to use all of these tools for remote teaching and learning today. So Kahoot, Jigsaw Planet, Quizzes, Flipgrid, Google Earth Voyager Tours, and WordWall.net. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to go ahead and take a practice at this. So if you have your phone handy, you can go ahead and scan the QR code, or I'm going to drop a link in the chat, and I'm going to give you a minute to see if you can solve the puzzle. Let me drop my link. All right, so the link is in the chat, or you can scan the QR code, and I'll give you just a minute.
Where'd it go?
You had some success. Everybody was able to get in there. The link isn't live. Good point, Dada. So if you are using the Zoom app to connect, you do need to update your app for the links to be live. They just fixed this feature very recently, so it will work on your phone. So what you just did, hopefully you had a minute to get in there. It's okay if you didn't solve it. I'm going to share the message with you here in just a second. This is a tool called Jigsaw Planet, and the message essentially was, first things first, it's not about the tech. So that's kind of the overarching message, is that technology is awesome and it's fun, but it really, the way that we are utilizing it really should be to enhance learning and engagement. So it's an opportunity to make the learning more dynamic and get kids more involved. So if learning is not, you know, engaging, we tend to kind of get kids not excited to do it. So I'm going to hop out for a minute, and we're going to go to the app that I mentioned to you called Jigsaw Planet. So, or this is actually a website. So Jigsaw Planet is a great place that you can create puzzles and share puzzles with students to interact with content. So I'm on the app, on the website called jigsawplanet.com. I did create an account with my Google credentials. When I come here, I can go to create, and I can upload any image that I have on my computer. and create a puzzle out of it. So let me get my tools out of the way. So I'm going to upload that image from my computer. I can use my slide to make the puzzle easier or hard. I definitely wouldn't recommend going very hard. And then I'm able to create it and then simply share the link for students to come in and play the puzzle. So this is a great way to kind of engage learners. Maybe you're diving into some new content. They can utilize this on any device. So as you've seen, you can use it on a phone, an iPad, your computer, but just a neat way to kind of get kids engaged with content. Any questions on that so far, Cindy?
They just love it. Everybody just really loves it. One suggestion that I'll make, if your students are using it on Chromebooks, so it wouldn't be, most likely it's not a touch screen, so you really want less pieces for something like that. They can still do it on there, so it definitely works, but
right.
Less pieces.
So you can just click and drag the pieces around on the computer. I did one of my go-tos, and if you've had previous webinars with me and you know me, I'm a big Google Slide fan. So I create a lot of the images in Google Slides. So I might want to put an image of the content, but then I can layer a message into it and the kids have to go solve the puzzle to get the secret message. So it's kind of a nice, go ahead.
Kathy, do you want to just show them the way to cheat on that also? Yes. So that they're familiar with it.
So there is a option down here in the lower left that if students click on it, it actually shows them the finished puzzle. So I tend not to point that out because I don't want to drive people in that direction. But this is just a really, neat way to, deliver some content to students. And again, you're able to grab the link and you can drop that in Seesaw. You can drop that in Google Classroom, deliver it to, put it on a choice board, a clickable board, whatever you want to do. And it saves it to your puzzles, so you can always go back to your saved games and access any of your previous puzzles. So there's like a Martin Luther King Jr. one that we did, what I was telling you about, embed a message that kids would have to go and find. So again, just kind of a fun way to get introduce kids to content. You can use it in any way you like. So again, it's an opportunity. So the big concept today is that you have so many tools at your fingertips to make learning dynamic, and we're going to take a look at some ways that you can do this really easily. When you think about using digital tools, there's really not one point in the teaching process that it works best. Technology can really be utilized at any point during instruction. So I like to think about the beginning of instruction is kind of like firing up a grill. If you're going to cook a steak, you don't throw it on a cold grill. You kind of warm the grill up, you put the coals in and let it kind of get cooking before you put the meat on. It's kind of the same concept when we teach, is when we're going to introduce something new to students, we kind of want to warm them up by hooking them kids into learning about the topic. And the puzzle is kind of a neat way to do that. We also can utilize these tools during as vehicles to actually deliver instruction. So we can teach through these tools. And then also for assessment. And when I say assessment, I don't necessarily mean a test. I mean, it can be used, these tools can be used to gather information and data for where the kid's at. Are they understanding the concepts that we're teaching about? So they really are vehicles for instruction. So we're going to take a look at first a very basic one. This is Kahoot. As a teacher, this was probably one of my go-tos. And so you may be familiar with it. But again, in the classroom, I always use this on the board and the kids connected on their iPads, and I was there to deliver the instruction. Kahoot actually has a feature that makes delivering Kahoots to students possible through distance learning. So we're going to take a look at that today. So Kahoot is another one that's great for using a quiz to pre-assess what kids already know. I can use it to deliver instruction, and then I can also use it to assess and see what students are understanding. So we're going to go ahead and give it a go. I'm going to, again, drop you a new link, or you can scan the QR code. And hopefully, this is a very short Kahoot. Shouldn't take you more than 3 or 4 minutes because it is only 5 questions long. So there's the link for the Kahoot if you'll give that a try, or you can scan the QR code on your phone, and we'll give you just a minute. All right, hopefully you got through those. If you will look down at your black bar in Zoom, and on reactions, if you could just hold your hand up, click the hand if you need another minute, otherwise we're gonna move on. All right, I don't see any hands, so I think we're good to go. All right, so what I just did is basically generated a, used what we call assigning homework and Kahoot. So this is, Kahoot has the option for us to push these quizzes out to kids via a link. Or we can push them directly out to Google Classroom. So I'm going to talk with you a little bit about that, and then we'll actually hop into Kahoot to see what that looks like. So things that I do want you to know before we take a look at it is Kahoots can be created, or you can use and or edit Kahoots made by others. So there are literally billions of Kahoots that are already created, really good ones based on content that you're teaching that you can take, modify, or just use as is. Again, Kahoots can be used at any point of instruction. So again, if you're just wanting to find out what do kids know about this already, or if you want to teach or use as an assessment. They can be played on any device, which is fantastic. There's not, you know, you're not restricted to certain kinds of devices, and they can be assigned in a variety of ways. So we're going to hop into Kahoot in just a second. I do want to point out to you, and again, this slide will be for you to come back to a little bit later. When you land in Kahoot, you want to, if you've never been to Kahoot before, you want to create an account, and I strongly recommend signing in with your Google credentials, so it's one less password for you to remember. When you land in Kahoot, you're going to see this purple bar up at the top, and I just want to emphasize what these different things are. So home is where your dashboard lives. So that's kind of your landing page when you go into Kahoot. Discover is where you want to go to find Kahoots that others have made, and I'll show you how you can duplicate and edit those. Kahoots, the Kahoots tab is where your Kahoots are going to live. Those are Kahoots that you've created, that you've modified, or that you have saved as a favorite. And then you have the Reports tab. So after students have done reports, have done Kahoots, you can go back to your Kahoot.com and click into the reports and see the student data. Kahoot does not at this point push those scores into Google Classroom. I'm hoping that's a feature that will roll out eventually. But you do have the place where you can come and get it, come and get the data, and it's really great information. I know for me as a teacher, I would use Kahoot a lot with guided reading to kind of dig into student knowledge about a text that we read. And it really, when I went to the reports, it really let me know which kind of questions students were really struggling with, which was very insightful for me. You can also create your own Kahoots from scratch by going to the Create button. So we're going to hop over to Kahoot in just a second. When you start a Kahoot, there are two ways to play. The first way is the teach mode, and that's really if you're going to be leading the Kahoot. So that is the mode that I would do in the classroom. You can try it in Zoom or in a virtual connection, but it is a little tricky with Kahoot because the questions and answers are on the teacher screen, and just the color choices are on the student screen. And that's only in the live mode. When we do it in the student pace mode, the homework mode, which is the assign button over on the right, the questions and answers will be on the student mode, just like it on the student device, like it was for you guys today. So let's hop over to Kahoot. So to find Kahoot, I can just go to in my browser to kahoot.com. So kahoot.com is where you go to find quizzes and set up your quizzes and assign your quizzes. When students connect with Kahoots, they can do it through the Kahoot app, or they can go on the web in any browser to kahoot.it. So just something good to know there. So I'm going to go ahead and log in, and I've already created an account with Kahoot. So we're going to go ahead and log me in so we can take a look at what we can do here. So first thing, like I mentioned, here's your purple bar. If I go to Discover, I'm going to be able to search for a Kahoot that I want. So I can look at anything, type any term. You want to, again, be very specific with what you're looking for. So I'm just going to do adding fractions, type in my search term, and then I'm able to filter down a little bit. So this is all the Kahoots related to adding fractions, but I'm going to go ahead and go down to, I don't know, 4th grade. That's going to kind of narrow down my search to ones that are appropriate for 4th grade. So as you can see, there are lots of them already made and available. So I'm going to find one that I like, and I'm going to go ahead to, this just kind of gives me a preview, so I can click the Kahoot to actually open and look at the quiz. And then up here in the upper right, I can click on Show Answers to check out what the answer options are. So I can go through, take a look at it. If it looks good and I want to assign it, I can go ahead and click Play. I also have the option to favorite it. When I favorite a Kahoot, it's going to move it to my Kahoot library, which is located up here, and I'll show you where to find your favorites in just a minute. I also want to point out, if I do want to make some modifications, I can click my 3 dots here next to the Kahoot, and I can duplicate. So that's going to make a copy of this one, but then I can go ahead and edit the Kahoot as I feel, you know, like I need to. So that's moved a copy of it to my library, so I know it's the duplicate now. And to go ahead and edit it, I'm going to click my 3 dots and edit. And you'll see kind of the flow. This is the same kind of flow that you would follow if you started a Kahoots from scratch. So my questions are over here on the left, so I can scroll back and forth. When you, your title of your question goes on the top. This teacher has inserted images here, which is fantastic. If you don't want that image, you can remove it, and you can even upload your own images there. You can also go ahead and set the correct answers in the quiz. So you notice that my yellow one has the green check. That's telling the Kahoot that that is the correct answer. So and students are going to get a different response on their screen based on what answer they chose. Something nice that I really like about Kahoot is you can select for more than one answer to be correct. And I think it's a really cool strategy, I think, to teach kids in relations to testing, because a lot of times they jump to, they look at one answer and the first answer looks right, so they go with that one. And so sometimes I'll set up questions that have 3 correct answers, and they could choose any of the 3 and still get the question correct. But it really teaches them to read through all the selections before making a choice. So you can do, 4 correct answers, or you could do 3 correct, and then one option is all of the above, so whichever way you prefer. I can add questions here. If I want to get rid of questions when I'm selected on it, I can click the little trash can. I can also duplicate a question with the little icon above that. And then you have some options to pull from a question bank as well. So once I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and click Done with my editing. And then let's look at how to assign it to the kids. So here we are. I'm ready to go ahead and play it. So play doesn't necessarily mean play right now. It gives me the option, do you want to use this as a teach or assign? And we're going to look at assign. So first thing I need to do is set up my date. So I want to give the kids some time. So I usually set my date a little bit far out. And then you have some options here. You can have a question timer on. And again, you're in control of how long students have on questions. So you can turn that on or off if you want the timer to show. So I'm going to go ahead and click Create. And it's going to take me to the screen to get the information that I need. So now I've got the option to go ahead and copy this link, which is what I did today. I copied that link and dropped it into the slide deck. If you use the copy link, they don't need the pin. So the link, the pin is actually embedded in the copy link. If you're just going to, drop it some other way, you could drop the, go to kahoot.it and join with this code, and students could do it that way. There's also an option here to share directly on my Google Classroom. So I can go ahead and click that and pick which class I want to drop that Kahoot into. So just pretty easy to utilize. I do want to show you here on my Kahoots. Here's my report tab. So if I come to my report tab, I'm able to look at Kahoots that my students have done and kind of drill down and get some more information about how they're doing on that concept. So as you come down, you can see I have 10 people that haven't finished and 4 that need help, but I see 100% on many of the students that took the Kahoot today. So that's fantastic. If I come over to my, and Jennifer, I see your hand up. I'm going to pause my talking in like 2 seconds. If I click my Kahoots, these are the Kahoots that I have created or copy and edited. But if I've just favorited it, I'm going to find those over here on the favorites tab. So that's kind of the gist of Kahoot. I'm going to pause now and check in. I saw a hand go up. Cindy, what questions have we had come up so far?
Actually, that was just a hand that came up, but I wanted to mention something about those reports because they're beautiful, but you need to make sure that your Kahoots are only 20 questions, because if it goes over 20 questions, you'll get a standard spreadsheet, but anything that's up to 20, you get this a beautiful spreadsheet. And the person who had their hand up, I don't remember who that was.
It's me, Jennifer Harrich.
Oh, hello.
Go ahead.
Hello. So question back to where you were showing us where you click play and you can copy the link, and there was also the pin. Yeah, right there. So I'm interested in when I, or my teammates, when we do training for teachers, because we're not in the classroom directly, but we do a lot of training, and whether we are in person or, well, more particularly if we're doing an online training or even a self-paced training, do you use that's the link? That's like what you did with us. You just did copy the link?
Just copy the link, drop it into your Google Classroom or into the chat box, whatever you want. And then my only suggestion would be to make sure you change that deadline before you get the link. So, because if you're doing a self-paced, you probably want to set that deadline way out because the students may get to it at different times. So not everybody has to play at the same time using this approach, which is awesome. You can just drop the link and they do it when they get to it.
And what if you're doing, when would you use the pin? I got confused with that.
The pin is if you're going to direct them to the app. So if you're going to say, go open your Kahoot app, then that is how they would connect with the pin number.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions, Cindy, before we move on?
I think we're good.
Okay, cool. Kahoots are really, really fun. Really fun to do. But that's not all the tools we have for you today. So I did drop a video. We went to Kahoot and Learn. I did drop a video. So if you need to come back and get some more information later on for Kahoots, you can do that. Quizzes is another online quiz tool, which is pretty fantastic. Quizzes can be created again, or you can edit, borrow from others. It's another great one. These work beautifully with Google Classroom. And here's the really super upside to quizzes. If you have students, if you require Google sign-in when you set it up and assign it through your Google Classroom, with quizzes, it'll actually import the grades into your Google Classroom, which is a pretty fantastic feature. Again, these can be assigned as live games, meaning the whole class is playing, or you can do them as homework. Now, these are a little bit different than Kahoot. When you do play live with quizzes, the students are going to see the questions and answers on their own device. Either way, whether you're going teacher directed or having the kids do it as homework. So that's really nice. Plus it contains a reading feature, which is pretty neat. So we're going to have you connect and try out a quizzes in just a second so you can see how it's different. When you first click the link, it's going to ask you to enter your name, and you should see some options down below it. And one of the really cool features about quizzes is there's a read aloud option. So you can toggle that on and then click Start Game, and it should read you the questions and answers in the quiz. So if you have students that are struggling with reading, or especially younger students, this is a great feature to have. It is a little bit of a teach piece. I haven't figured out a way where I can force it to read aloud. So it might be good to drop a screenshot if you're assigning it to younger students. If they start the quiz and it's not reading aloud, this little button right here up to the left of Pinocchio, they can click there and pull these options up again and turn on Read to Me. So you're basically going to see a question and you're going to pick your answer. And there are no grades for this quiz, so we're going to have you join one. So again, I'm going to have you experience as a student so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to drop the link in, or you can scan the QR code, and hopefully that will run smoothly for us. So quiz, whoops. All right, oops, let's try that again. Still not working. I think you can probably copy and paste the link to give it a try, or try the QR code, either one. If you're having any struggles, just raise your hand, please. Sandra, if it's asking you for a game code, if you're using the app, the code is right here on the screen, the 535961. All right, if you need another minute, if you will raise your hand. Awesome, Veronica. Looking to see if we have any raised hands. All right. All right, well, let's take a look at how to do this. So awesome, hearing some good feedback on it. So quizzes is another fun one. It's got some options that we do not have in Kahoots, which is really nice. So oops, we're gonna go back and we're gonna actually go take a look at it now. So to get to quizzes, I'm gonna go in my web browser and type it in, quizzes.com. Again, I'm going to recommend that you do Google sign-in, so you have one less username and password to remember. Your first time, you're going to go to sign up. I've already got an account, so I'm going to go over here to the left to log in, and I'm going to log in with my Google. And let's take a look at how to make this work. So let me authenticate real quick, and here we go. All right. So very similar to Kahoot in the where you're able to go and search for quizzes on any topic. So I can find quizzes. The menu is over here on the left. I can, my quizzes, those are quizzes that I've created or ones that I have duplicated and edited. I can also come here to reports, and that data is gathered for me here. If I had pushed this out through Google Classroom, when the quiz due date came, it would import those there. But I can click here to my quiz that we just did and check on everyone's progress and see how everyone did. So we had a lot of great scores today. Good job. Few people had missed one or two. So nice work, guys. So you can go ahead, and if you are a Google Classroom user, you can actually go to Classes and import your Google Classrooms to quizzes. So you can assign quizzes directly to your Google Classroom. You also can, we can generate links just like we did today and send those out through Seesaw or whatever vehicle we're using as well. So I'm going to come here and let's just kind of walk through this together, and then I can also come up here to create a new quiz. So working smarter, not harder, let's go ahead and search again for adding fractions. And it's going to pull up all the ones. Again, I can filter down by my grade level that I want. This one is not as specific, so you may have to do a little bit more digging, or you might want to include in your search terms 4th grade adding fractions. So we'll just narrow down to elementary right now, And same kind of concept as Kahoot. I'm going to go through. I can see by just kind of hovering, I can see some information, but if I hover on top of the quiz, it's actually going to open up a preview over here on the right where I can scroll down and take a look at it to see, do I want to dig further into this one or not? So again, once you find it, you can click the like. That's going to move it to your favorites. You can click save to also to hang on to it for later. So we're going to go ahead and click the quiz itself and look at how to assign this. So again, quizzes can be played in live mode or in homework mode, which would be the way that you go for distance learning. So I'm going to go to assign homework. And again, I start with my due date. So you want to pull that due date out as far as you can to allow students time to do it. And then as I scroll down, I do want to point out we've got some advanced settings. So you've got some options here to let students attempt several times. So I know when I took the quiz, I got one wrong. And at the end of the quiz, it prompted me to do that question again. So that was kind of a nice feature. So you can actually, we've pushed these out to students before and they don't like their score. And so they want to go in and redo it, which I don't think is a bad thing. That's a good thing. They're motivated to improve their performance. So if you want to leave that on, you can. You have the option whether you want to show answers in the game or after the game. And then as I come further down, I've got the timer, leaderboards, and then this is really a fun feature. You can add memes that pop up after the question. So when they get a question wrong or right, they would get a funny meme. So I usually try to stay with random or kids, just something that looks kind of appropriate. When we're ready to assign, I can do it one of two ways. So I can go ahead and select a Google Classroom class to push it to and go ahead and send it directly to my class that way, or I can click continue and that's going to take me to where I can grab a link. So this is where the link and the code came from. So I can just grab this link here and it copied it to my clipboard and then I can post that wherever I want to put it to have kids connect. Or I can copy and paste this and have kids go to join my quizzes on any browser and enter the code to connect. So either one of those you can do. Cindy, are we good?
I think so.
Okay. Also, you can also come up here and create quizzes from scratch. There's probably ones that you want, but I can just come up here and do create quiz. Tell what kind of what kind of course I'm doing it for, and then choose your question types. You can do multiple choice, fill in the blank, all of these different options. You would pick which question type, and then basically just fill it in, click save, and then add another question. And again, you've got the ability to change how long they have to respond. You can insert images as well. I don't know. So yeah, you do have to have the images available beforehand to pull in there. So, but there's tons of great ones already made out there in quizzes that you can jump into and play with. All right. So another tool for your toolbox. And again, there's a how-to video to come back to. The next thing I want to share with you is Google
Kathy?
Earth. Yeah.
One more question. So there was a question asking, which do you prefer, Kahoot or quizzes?
You know, it depends. I really leaned more towards Kahoot prior to distance learning, but now with, Kahoot doesn't have the read aloud feature, which is kind of a seller for me on quizzes at this point. So I just think the memes are super engaging too. So at this point, I would probably have to say quizzes is my go-to. All right, we've got a couple more tools on our list, so I want to keep trucking. So Google Earth, we're going to talk for a minute about it. Google Earth actually has a very educational component to it called Google Earth Voyager Tours. And so we're going to take a look at these tours and how you can share and assign these with students. So Google Earth used to be this, like, you had to have an application for it, and it's no longer is that way. Google Earth actually runs on the browser now. So I have a Google Earth Voyager Tour open. If you go to googleearth.com, search it up, open it up in your browser. When you land in Google Earth and you click this little, looks like kind of a ship steering wheel, that's where you're going to find the Google Earth Voyager Tour. So I'll click there in just a minute, but I want to show you what this looks like. So Voyager tours are basically tours that have been set up to move kids around the globe to learn about a specific content. So on my left side, I'm actually seeing a part of the world, and this is a interactive image, so I actually can move around and get a 360 view. Then we have the content on the right, and then for students to move to the next place, they're going to click the little arrow on the bottom, and it's going to fly them out and then to the next place on the tour. So really great content. So here we go, we're zooming in, and it's taking me to that street level view. And now I get to read about this castle, and I can use my scrolling on my screen or on my trackpad to look around. So it's really, just really, really neat. When I find a tour that I like, if I click these 3 dots, I can go share this story, and it's going to generate a link that I can share with students, or I can push it to my Google Classroom. So this is a great way for you to deliver just that specific content to students. So if I share, I just want to make sure you see this. So if I click share this page, it's just going to share the one page of this tour. If I do share this story, it's sharing the entire tour with students. So it's really just a cool thing. So I'm going to hop to Voyager, and hopefully it'll open pretty quickly. There we go. So this is the Google Earth Voyager landing page, and these are all tours that have been created using Google Earth Voyager. There's a specific education section here, and so you can go and take a look, and when you find one you like, you would just click the link, and it would open the tour. You'd click start, and then send the link to students with sharing the story.
Yes,
Cindy,
can you show
right?
how to get to the tour again?
Yeah, so I'm going to close this one. So I go to googleearth.com or earth.google.com, or you can just Google Earth and it'll find it for you. So Voyager tours are here on the ship wheel. Find the one that you like. Here's one with poetry. Once it opens up, I'm going to say explore. And then I'm going to go to the 3 dots to share this story. And I can either copy the link to share with students or push it to Classroom. I did notice that if students are using iPads, it works a lot more smoothly if they have the Google Earth app installed. But we have pushed the Google Earth app to a lot of the iPads in the district because of this. So just a fantastic resource. I do have some resources tied on this page, which I want to show you. So they're linked on the bottom of this page, but the way that I deliver this to students is I can either share the link, but I also have this resource linked at the bottom of this page for you. So I usually will post this in the classroom for students to help them know how to navigate through. So this kind of just shows students like to move on, you click here. Here's how you toggle to move around. So it's just an extra deck that I share with them to show them how to navigate. And then you might want to do the Google Earth. I want them to do something with the content after they learn it. So what I've done in the past is just create a Google slide with resources on the side to teach them how to use it. And they can write about what they learned on their tour that day. So again, these templates are shared with you on the bottom of the this page, the second page. So they're all down here on the bottom of the thing. You'll click them and then you'll click use template, and that will make a copy in the Google Drive for you. Google also offers Lit Trip lessons, which are lessons that go along with text. It works a little bit different because you actually have to find the book and then request the file, and you open the file. They'll send you a KMZ file, and you would download that file and then open it in Google Earth. So they're a little trickier to navigate, but if you want some more information on that in your feedback form at the end, make sure you put that in there and I'll walk you through a little bit more of that. But I have another tool I want to share with you, so we're going to truck on if that's okay. Cindy, do we have anything pressing before we move on?
We are ready for the next thing.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at another tool that you can use. This is called wordwall.net. And we're going to actually practice with it in 2 different games, but it'll be very quick. So I'm dropping the link in, or again, you can use the QR code, either one, and we'll give you a minute to get in there and play. Okay. All right. It's okay if you didn't finish. We're going to take a look at one more game on wordwall.net, and then I'm going to show you how to use it. So I don't want you to miss this one. This is a quiz show, and if you don't finish it, that's okay. I'm going to drop you another link, or you can use the QR code on this one. So go ahead and give that one a quick go. Sorry. All right. If you can raise your hand if you need a minute, it's okay if you didn't finish. I just wanted you to be able to get in and take a look at it. Raise your hand if you need a minute or if you have a question. Otherwise, we're going to go take a look at how to do this. Cindy, you can hear me okay, right?
Yes, I can. Yes, yes. I just didn't know if you meant like right that second.
No, I have a weird little icon on my audio bar, and so I was worried about it.
Your sound is good.
Good. All right. Well, let's take a look at how to use this tool. So this is probably one of the coolest things that I've learned in the last bit. So this is called wordwall.net. So to see how it works, I'm going to show you how to get there. You'll create an account. Again, you can browse content that's already created in the community or create. You'll be able to click share to a class. And again, it generates a link for you that you can push out in Classroom or Seesaw. There's lots of different games types to explore. So I'm logged in here. This is wordwall.net. When I come in, I can go to I can go to community to search, and I can search for different activities. I can also come to my activities or go to create activities. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So when I go to create activity, I have lots of different game options here. So I can, Flippity has some that are familiar. I found that this is really easy to use. So you can pick any of these games, and once you pick them, you just basically put the questions and answers in. So name it, put the question, the keyword, the definition. You click add item to add another selection. So you just kind of pull the information in like this. The neat thing, and I'm going to actually hop to one of these, is when you create a game. So I went in this morning and I put in just 5 words and 5 definitions. I picked balloon pop to start, but and I need to pop the balloons to match the definition that's on the train. So here comes the train. Extreme happiness. So I need to actually pop the balloon. But I also can come over here and click different game types. So I put my content in once, but I can generate several different games using this content. So I said, it's going to change the style of game that I'm using. So that's a really cool feature, is working smarter, not harder. I put the content in once, and it gives me multiple ways to deliver it. Again, if I click the share button underneath the game, I'm able to set assignment or get a link to share, or this one says other teachers, my students. We're going to go ahead and assign this, and then I can generate a link to deliver it to kids. So there are so many great templates on this wordwall.net. And again, it's free to use. So we're going to go My Students. They can be anonymous, or you can require that they enter their name. It doesn't require a ton of signing in. And then there's your link that you can copy, or you can go ahead and push it out on your Google Classroom. Your results are saved in your Results tab. So again, your data is here that you can come back to. So I can click and take a look and see how everybody did, and then scroll down to see individual results. So fantastic tool. And again, create activity, you're going to see all the different templates, or you can go to the community and dig around and look at things that have already been made and make modifications. All right, so wordwall.net, that's a great one. Cindy, we have about 6 minutes left. Should I do a super quick Flipgrid real quick?
I would do Flipgrid, yes, just jump in there. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna have you do this really quickly, and then we'll wrap up with this being our last piece for today. We've covered a lot of great tools. We're gonna have you connect to actually do Flipgrid as a student, and I promise these aren't going anywhere out in the public, but I'm gonna have you try a Flipgrid so you can see what it looks like on the student end. So you can connect with this link, or you can scan the open Flipgrid. So this one's a little bit different. You would open Flipgrid to connect with this one. So when you open Flipgrid, you'll have an option to scan a QR code. Now Flipgrid does require that you sign in with either Microsoft or Google credentials. So this one is great to use with students that are already signing in to devices, but we're going to have you go ahead and hop in there. When you get there, you're going to find the green plus, and it's going to ask you to do a quick video response. So all I'm asking you is, how has distance learning changed your teaching? And you can do 5-second response, and then go ahead and do the submit. So I'll give you just a second, and then I'll show you what that looks like.
And one thing too, Kathy, I don't know if you mentioned, is that if you don't have the Flipgrid app on your phone or on your iPad, it's going to ask you to download it so that you can respond.
Yeah. And if you don't have it and it's just taking too long, don't worry about it. So once you go in, you tap the green plus. It's going to ask you to record a video. You tap to record. And then when you're done, you go ahead and click the arrow on the right. And then when you're done, it's going to ask you to take a selfie. And then you go ahead and click the green arrow and then submit.
And were we supposed to be seeing your screen when you were doing that?
No.
Okay.
That was on my phone.
All right. Okay.
Hopefully if you're having any trouble navigating, just unmute or drop a chat in. All right, hopefully everybody has gotten in. We'll give you just a minute. So these are the steps that you're following: green plus, record, tap next, take a selfie, submit. Don't worry about it, Ms. Tilson. All right, we okay if I go ahead and go on?
Keep on going.
All right, cool. All right, so we're going to take a look at how to set up a grid and connect kids very quickly, and different types of grids. So there's three types of grids. You can do a PLC, Professional Learning Community. That is really an adult-only feature. Flipgrid really doesn't want younger students using that. You can require a password for that. So if we've been connecting kids across the world, I sometimes will set it up as a PLC, but I password protect it. But students can log in with their username. So we're going to go over to Flipgrid real quick. When I'm in Flipgrid, and again, sign up as an educator with your Google credentials, I'm able to set up grids. So I came here to My Grids, and I have grids where I'm having students responding to different things. So your grid is kind of like your classroom. And then under your grid, you can have different topics. So I'm just going to come to a Flipgrid practice class and we'll take a look. So here's one where we connected kids. So we have our topic, our grid, which is the Front Desk Global Read Aloud, and then we've got different topics that we're having kids respond to with this tool. Kind of some of the neat features in Flipgrid is I'm actually able to take student responses and create what we call mixtapes. So I can add a new mixtape, and a mixtape means I'm going to grab videos from different topics and put them together. So as I'm seeing everybody do these, I miss you, signs to their students where the whole school's getting together, I'm thinking Flipgrid's a great vehicle to do that with. So that's, you would just name your mixtape, and then I'm able to go ahead and grab videos that I want to add to that mixtape. So really neat features. So there's I've made my mixtape, and I can go ahead and edit and add videos to that mixtape. So if I go back to my grids, I can go into one of my grids, and I'm not going to pull that one up to show anybody, but I can go to the responses in the grids, and then on the 3 dots, I can click add it to the mixtape, or on the action drop down, there'll be an option to add it to mixtapes. So Flipgrid's got some awesome other features. The mixtapes, they have a Grid Pals feature where you can connect your classes with classes across the world, which is really cool right now. And then they have a Disco library as well, where you can add things. These are kind of topics that are already created that you can just add into your class, like maybe a math problem they have to solve, and you can just pick something from here and then add it to your class. So fantastic stuff that's already made for you. Lots of integrations with Epic, different things like that that you can utilize. So good stuff. So
Kathy,
yeah.
Is there a resource on there? Because people are very much interested in there. Is there a resource on there, or do you have a resource for them to learn more about using Flipgrid?
Absolutely. So a couple different things. You can come to Flipgrid and kind of look around and play around. I believe they have the Help Center here on Flipgrid, which has more information. If you're someone that really wants more guided instruction on that, we probably could easily spend an entire webinar on Flipgrid. Definitely put that in your feedback form if that's something that you want to learn more about, and we can plan a more extended full webinar on using all the features within Flipgrid. But the Help Center is a great place to start. I know we covered a lot of tools very quickly. Hopefully, like I mentioned, our goal was for you to walk away with 1 or 2 pluses to add to your toolkit. I did just drop the attendance, so hopefully we were successful at that. You've got some things to go back and take a look at. I did just drop the link to the attendance form in the chat box. And remember, once you open that form and fill it out, when you submit it, the link to today's slide deck will be in there. And I will also add in on the Flipgrid page the some Flipgrid help information as well for you to go back to. So we covered a lot of content. Your instructional technology specialist would be happy to help you. Cindy and I are also available to hang out for a little bit and answer questions, or if I went too fast on anything and you want me to go back and look at something specifically, we can do that. So if you will make sure you fill that attendance form out, and then if you are good to go, grab the link and you can exit the meeting. But if you have questions, just feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.